This episode of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is brought to you by the awesome people over at Apex Entertainment. Apex, located in Marlboro, is located right off Route 495 on Route 20. It's 100,000 square feet of pure fun for all ages. There's always perfect weather at Apex Entertainment, and it's an ideal location for a birthday party, corporate outing, or special event. Or, you know what? Just to go and have some fun. Attractions include 30 bowling lanes, multi-level indoor go-kart track, laser tag, bumper cars, rope course, and arcade. Go check out apexentertainment.com. Razor and I thanks Apex Entertainment for all of their support. Welcome, Jan and Razor. So we do an extra brew, a special brew the other day before the Bruins are going to come back from their 16-day layoff, COVID pause. And as the league gets revved up, and the big story was line changes, especially up front, as the back end had tweaks, but nothing is really recognizable or I guess impactful as up front. And after two games, a win over Buffalo, a win over Detroit, it's safe to say, with I believe it's 14 different players recording a point in that time, that the changes have worked so far as we welcome you in on a Sunday evening record of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor.
No question. The scoreboard doesn't lie this weekend in this regard. And everyone, I think a lot of Bruins fans had talked about it for weeks now. I know we have touched on it a few times, and it certainly paid off against these two teams this weekend to be able to spread things out a little bit. Smith on the top line looks great. You get Hall going, and so all the way through those top fours, to have 14 players recording points is a big deal for this group.
One of the things that I was happiest about was after Saturday's first two periods, despite the fact that the Bruins are down by a pair of goals, the coaching staff does not reset the lines and put the Bergeron line back together. They stick with it, and it pays huge dividends. And I didn't love, by the way, the Haula line the first two periods in the Buffalo game. I didn't notice them that much. I didn't think posture was great. Hall was okay. Haula was okay. But as a line, they're great. But then the third period, they score a beautiful goal. And I think, I know it sounds easy sitting here, and I really, truly try and recognize it, Razor, how easy of a game it is. Look, we coach youth hockey, not pro hockey. I understand there's just a minor difference. But even as a youth hockey coach, there's a tendency to want to go back to what gets you results. There just is. You know what I mean? So I get it that Bruce and his staff might look to do that. So I give them credit. And they stuck with it. And, you get the Hall goal with a beautiful play by Haula. You get production from guys throughout the four lines. And I think that's it cannot look past that the Bruins did not revert back to the lines after being down to Buffalo, a team that is, I know they're feeling better about themselves, but come on. If they lost that game, the reset would have been holy shit. You know what I mean? The whole coming out of that would have been an awful way to come out of the reset.
It would have been frustrating, and they were pumping shots on net, and they were outplaying them, but yes, not to have that finish, and not to have that finish with the new line combinations. And here we go again, nothing. But now it's the exact opposite, where we're talking, to your point, where way to stay with it, great job, everyone's feeling it. Now we can really roll with this. But after two periods, you're thinking, man, there's really no secondary scoring, and there's no way to get this forward group going. So it's how quickly the NHL changes and how people perceive teams so quickly changing. But it was, to your point, which is a really good point, is that we've seen them go right back to this numerous times. Mm-hmm. And maybe not in between, but David goes right back onto that line. whether it's Patrice or Brad or David looking behind them, saying on the bench, like, all right, give it to us. We'll finish this off, or we'll get us back into this game. They didn't allow that to happen. They let everyone else get into it. And now after a 5-1 win the day later, it's really paid dividends. And now you feel like, wow, they're all going to feel good going home on Sunday night on the plane, hanging out. They're going to have a good week. And you got a lot of games, everyone going, everyone feeling good. It's positive, good momentum.
Yep, and it's a tough week ahead, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here. Jersey on Tuesday at home. Jersey's a better team, and especially with Jack Hughes back in the lineup. They're playing better. They're scoring. In fact, on Sunday, they ended up beating the Washington Capitals in overtime. And then you've got Minnesota, and you've got Tampa. And then after that, you got Washington. So you're talking the next 7 days, 4 fun but tough games. But yes, guys will feel better about themselves, especially after Sunday's effort in Detroit, where they really played, except for the power play early on, which didn't look good at all. They ended up coming through at 5-on-5, which is more important of really, kill off the penalty early on in the second period that led over from the end of the first. Swayman was excellent. And then they get after it and they start pumping goals, and it's from everybody. The third period in particular, they played, and we talked about this in Nesson postgame, but it was what Bruce lamented a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, where he talked about, the guys aren't doing things to winning hockey. They're not doing it. They did it in the third period against Detroit. They shut them down. Detroit was good in the second period. They outshot the Bruins by a couple, some high-quality scoring chances. Bruins said, fine, we took it. Now in the third period, damn, they were good. And they get Nosek scoring, and they get Frederick scoring, and everybody, all 4 lines coming through again.
Correct, and similar to the Buffalo game, as a group, not just the line staying intact, but as a group staying with their game, and much more disciplined. Similar to even on the road, the 3 games prior to their COVID outbreak. They stuck with it, and similar to what we've seen this Bruins group the last few years, where whether it's resiliency, whether it is imposing will, whether it's just staying very consistent / disciplined throughout a 60 minutes, that's what these games look like. Even down Buffalo 3-1, they said, all right, we're sticking with it. We're putting pucks on net. We're going to get these goals. They didn't extend themselves. They didn't open things up. And that's a real positive. And I think that message that Cassidy had a month ago seems to be resonating and seems to be getting through to the group.
Patrice Bergeron in the Detroit game scores again. It's his 5th goal in 3 games against Detroit. Now, granted, 4 of them were in 1 game. He had 8 shots in the game. He ends up winning 15 of 18 faceoffs. He is something.
You could have bet your life on that happening.
Oh yeah,
I'm starting that prop bet every night. Patrice gets worked or loses, and work for him is not getting 50%. Mm-hmm. You lock in the 75% the next night, because it's unbelievable that this guy cares so much about this and competes so hard for this. But it's evident in the numbers, because every time he loses a night in the faceoff circle, he comes back, which happened Saturday to Krebs. That guy owned him. And now he comes in the next night and owns the Red Wings, just to make sure everyone knows he's not going anywhere.
I don't want to get off on this too much, because we've got other stuff to cover. Patrice, especially having been youngsters together in the NHL, sharing a commercial, in fact, a ride on a Zamboni, albeit with different hairstyles many years ago. Surefire Hall of Famer. First time, first ballot. I know he's won the 4 Selkies. His numbers are impressive. It's amazing, and what he does, game in, game out, all that stuff. Surefire bet, first ballot Hall of Famer, in your opinion?
Yes, no question. And the reason for those things that you just touched on, the 4 Selkies, the Stanley Cup, and this is why we go back to the Olympics a little bit.
Yeah.
Because of his national team record in Canada, winning gold medals for his country puts him over the top. What he's thought of in Canada and not ever played in a Canadian market is because of his national team success. And this is why guys want to go. This is why Brad Marchand wants to go and play for Team Canada and not be the enemy when he goes into Toronto and Montreal. he gets to be the hero in Canada and win a gold medal and be a hero. Your perceptions change. Patrice will be a hot first ballot, not even question. He's in.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's been a
Hopefully
few.
he sends me a ticket for being his first roommate too.
He should
make sure of that.
He should.
Yes, he should.
He should.
We'll
That would be a fun night. Get up there. That commercial would get some legs up there too if they did like a quick cameo of you sitting in the stands. You know,
that might be why I don't go back, because I know he wants nothing to do with that thing.
I've covered it. The Hall of Fame, like a Hall of Fame game from studio, worked it. I never went to the event when I was in Toronto. I'd love to. Have you ever been to it, by the way? Have you ever gone to it?
I did. I was playing in Toronto. You had the Hall of Fame game, so those guys were around. And then 2 years ago, I went up and played in the Hall of Fame game as an old guy, played in net. And, I didn't go to the actual ceremony Monday night, but I was around Tuesday and Thursday, or Saturday, Sunday.
I guess, I mean, the ceremony, I'm not much of a ceremony guy. I'm just not. But, you know, it's if you get a ticket, you have to go.
It's a festive weekend. Everyone, you go up there and there's a bunch of guys in town, tons of parties. Yeah, it's like a, it's not Super Bowl, but it's that idea.
Yeah, there have been, there's been chatter, if he's not a Hall of Fame, a first balloter, I'd be flabbergasted if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer for everything you talked about there, but also because of the way in general he's always carried himself. And that is something that he's always been agreeable, more than agreeable, accessible, wonderfully, just he's a sweet, kind guy. So whenever the media, in particular the national and Canadian media are around him, he's been fantastic. Nothing seems to bother him. You never see him have a bad day, at least outwardly. And that goes a long way in the balloting. There's no controversy with him. And there's a great chance that this year, right now, if he stays along this path, that he'll win another Selke. The way he's playing right now. There's a great chance of it. And now all of a sudden he's won more Selkes than anybody else. So that would be hard not to put him in the holder. Anyways, we'll get back to the weekend at hand. What do you say about, or to the people that say, okay, it's nice. It was good. It was important. And they got 4 points, but it was Buffalo and then it was Detroit. The former player in you, give me that answer. Actually, I'll give you the hockey analyst broadcaster from the outside. To me, it doesn't mean squat, because I've always been told by all my buddies that played in the league, I include you as one of them, that you always respect every game you play in the league. And you know that there are teams that you should beat, but it doesn't mean you're going to beat them. And that the fact is, over an 82-game season, you're going to have highs and lows, all that stuff. And so you've got to figure out a way. Not only the Bruins figure out a way, especially after being down 2 against Buffalo, but they got better in their second game, which actually, it doesn't surprise me. The legs get going, the hands get going, etc. But the Detroit Red Wings are better than Buffalo in my book. So yes, Buffalo might not be great, but you know what? They played their asses off, I thought, yesterday a bit. And the Bruins came back and gave it to them. So to the people that say, well, they better have won, I don't disagree with that. But the Bruins did what they had to, and they did it well.
Yeah, you're correct. And, there's still going to be a lot of games, a lot. There's going to be a handful, half a dozen, 10 games the rest of this season where you say, well, the Bruins have to win this. They're going to win this. They're the much better team. They're going to lose in the NHL. You go through the scoreboard every night, especially coming off a 2-week break. So certainly from my point of view, it's 4 points they needed to get, but 4 points that good teams get. Bad teams go 500 in this. That's the answer. That's the real answer. Buffalo has a weekend where they play Ottawa and Detroit.
Yep.
They win one, lose one. Detroit has a game where they play Buffalo and Ottawa. They win one, lose one. Philadelphia right now, they go into a weekend series where they play New Jersey and
they just went
Ottawa.
They just went,
and they go, they go 1-1, or
right.
They go 0-2, and that's the difference. And you look at the standings now, and we went from this team. Wow, they're barely in the. They're almost a lock for the playoffs now. The 8 teams have already separated themselves through just 30 games, like nothing I've seen in this Eastern Conference in a while. Mm-hmm. There is a huge separation through 30 games, and the Bruins are in 8th place, yes, but they're 6 games over 500, and the team that's in ninth place is 1 game over 500. So that's a lot of wins to make up already. And so that's what I say, and that's where I look at it, where they're good. If you go 2-0 on any weekend in the NHL and consistently go 5 wins and 7, that means you're a pretty good hockey team, no matter who it is on the other side.
Yeah. Bruins right now, just to give fans, if they don't have the standings in front of them, just some perspective, are in the second wild card, which is a nice way of saying the 8th spot in the conference. They've only played 28 games. They have 34 points. Pittsburgh, who I got to give credit to, holy smokes. You know what? Pittsburgh is playing beautifully. They've won 8 in a row as we sit down and talk this Morning Bru. They've got 41 points at 31 games. So the Bruins have 3 games in hand on them, which would still put them, if they won out those 3 games, they would put them a point behind Pittsburgh. But at least it gives them a fighting chance, so to speak, to get, out of the 8th spot. I know we're a long way away, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have played 3 more games than the Bruins, have 44 points. So that means they're 10 points up. So even if the Bruins won all of their games, they would still be 4 points behind them. I don't know if I really see the Bruins make it into the 3rd spot in the Atlantic anymore. So it just seems too much for me right now.
No, I agree. I don't think that it's going to matter. I don't think it matters at all. This year in that Eastern Conference, there's no matchup that you're looking at is like, oh, that's a better matchup. You just talked about Pittsburgh. So let's say Tampa Bay, Florida go 1-2, right? Mm-hmm. And Carolina. We'll put Carolina in there because those have been the 3 best teams.
Washington's
Washington. No, I love Washington, but out of the gates, right? It was those Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina. They go out 10-0. They're rock stars. Well, those 3 teams now have to play Toronto, Boston, or Pittsburgh in the first round. No one's going to have an easy matchup, is my point, in the Eastern Conference. There isn't going to be one team that squeaks in that you're going to be like, wow, I want to get that team. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't think that, other than the home ice advantage, which usually doesn't matter either. I think you just have such a hard matchup. The East is tough.
Yeah, the top teams. Yeah, the top teams are. Let's slide in the Apex most entertaining moment of the weekend. Let's just call it a weekend. Was there a moment that had you excited more than the other? A goal? Anything that you thought stood out?
Yeah, I mean, it was the Foligno goal for me that got them going against Buffalo. That was because I felt like if they got 1, they were going to get 2 and they were going to score. And it was just 1. It just felt like that at home afternoon game. And Nick Foligno, a guy that I've been, talking about with his deal, the contract he has, not scoring yet. I think we saw once he scored, then the rest of the depth came. And I'm not just putting it on that goal, but I think that's a big part of him and his leadership where guys look to him. Finally, he's off the schneid. Yeah. Finally, he gets his goal, and it almost released pressure for everybody else on the mid-6.
Yeah.
So that's my apex moment.
Yeah, and I like that. I would put it down for 2 things. I'd put it down for the Haula goal against Detroit. Here's another guy, too, that you want to see get going that has, I think, putting him at the 2C spot has given him a little bit of an inner confidence that will, I'm not saying sustain him there, but I hope will catapult him to a better stretch coming up. I do. I think it'll help him. Comes out of the box. He basically gets the puck out. They get the puck out of the zone. He's in full stride. He shoots it off the, he does that left foot shot. He's a lefty. Instead of putting that right foot in front, he gets it off that left foot, that one-legger, and he snipes it. The puck is on its side. I texted you if that's different for a goaltender's read. And I think it had not a boomerang effect, but I do think a little trajectory. It got up a teeny bit quicker and beat Nedeljkovic over the glove on that. But it was just a great shot, and it was very entertaining to see that. I loved Marchand in the game against Detroit. Holy smokes, the battles and everything. And I know he wasn't named a star of the game, but it was very entertaining to hear them boo him all the time. And then finally he's like, screw you. And he starts hacking and whacking with the Mesnikov, and he was more than happy to fight, even though that was a win for Detroit in the sense of you get Marshy off the ice for 7 minutes. It was entertaining. And so I'll throw all those moments out for our Apex most entertaining moments. This is of the weekend. And always we thank Apex and the wonderful people there. Go check them out in Marlboro and apexentertainment.com, Razor. And, it's getting chilly outside coming up, but it is always perfect weather inside Apex in Marlboro. Go check out apexentertainment.com.
Yeah, I was up that way today for the old hockey. I was wishing I could pull in there instead of onto the next game with the rainy, dreary day we had. It's a good setup there.
It was. How did the games go today? All three Raycrofts were lacing
3 1-goal games. 3 1-goal games, 1 and 2. So a 1-0 loss, a 5-4 loss, and a 1-0 win.
A 1-0 win in youth hockey.
My daughter's game. Unbelievable. So what's happened is the girls have gotten, I think they all grew 2 inches over Christmas, and they have the little nets, and there's just, you can't score. You can't score now. All of a sudden, the little nets are too small for my 8-year-old girls. Yeah.
I don't want to go too much tangent here. I like the little nets though for the kids. I do.
Oh, me too.
I do.
No, I'm a huge proponent because the big net doesn't even count. Like the kid can flip it in most wins.
Right. Most of the time, the kid that's playing goal that day is being rotated as their chance to play. It's not by choice, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they're doing it, and half the time they're just falling down anyways. And if the big net, you fall down, you're going to miss it most of the time. So if you fall down at the little net, you have a better chance of stopping it. I love that, a 1-0 game.
And even you don't usually have the 12-0 game because even the team that's getting beat really badly has a hard time scoring. Right. And that was so
okay, like that. Good.
1-0.
Let's talk about the concern, if there is any. Because we look at the lines and we look at they've done up front. And again, we're seeing production. We're seeing guys we wanted to see produce, except for one guy, David Pastrnak. Now, Bruce talked about the other day, one of the things they wanted to do by changing these lines was to get perhaps guys like Taylor Hall going. You said, we talked about it. I think it's also to get David Pastrnak going. But he doesn't look to be as Pastrnak, as he looks more Pastrnak, less pasta. Does that make sense? Like, you know what I mean? We want to see him be pasta out there. Is that a concern for us, given that the team has done real well, but David hasn't gotten those individual results against the Detroit Red Wings? He had no goals. I'm looking it up. I think he had 3 shots on goal total, if I remember correctly. Pastrnak had 2 shots, 1 other attempt, so 3 attempts total. That's it.
That's really low.
Yeah,
it's one thing to have 3 shots, but 3 attempts is real low from him. So for me, it is a bit of a concern. I would have loved to have seen him find a way similar to Nick Foligno in a bit of a different way, but 8 goals almost feels like 0 for David Pastrnak this far into the season.
Right,
and it's important to get him going from this because yes, it's probably a little bit easier to sell these line changes to everybody else but David Pastrnak. That's the one guy who's this NHL All-Star, considers himself a superstar, taking a step back and down the lineup. So he's the one you want to see get going now. No question. He's got to get the next one.
I watched him on the goal, the Taylor Hall goal. That was a beautiful play, I thought, by Erik Haula to subtly pick the leg and the player, Casey Fitzgerald, without getting called on a penalty by keeping his stick on the ice, driving through him, but never looking at him, looking away as if to say it was an accident, basically, that he ran into him. Thought it was masterful. And then, great shot by Taylor. And David sellied. He did. He was thrilled. You could tell. I always look for those body language things. And and I know, Razor, there are guys that they're legit happy for their team when there's results. And then there's the other guys that will always selly. They'll go to the pile. But it's, yeah, good job. Okay, yeah, no. So David was into it, which I think is a great sign. But I wonder if there will be, if it takes a few more games to get any, more chemistry and whatever. It's helping Taylor Hall for sure. Seems like it's given him that energy boost, confidence boost. But David, internally, is he going to get to a point where he's like, hey, I want to be with my guys again? You know what I mean? I want to be around there zipping the puck around with them. I mean, is that something that we even need to think about right now? I guess that's where I want to go with it.
Well, I think I would say if it went through it, because there's so many games now. It's a game by, it's not a matter of time. It's just through these games. And yes, I think at some point here, if he doesn't really catch fire, he's going to look around and, what's going on? Is this happening for the rest of the season now?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a few questions of the assistant coaches are wanting to know exactly how it stands after this stays in place for a few games. Because again, we've talked about it, and we didn't want this to happen, but it never in David's career since being on that line has he been off it for very long.
Right.
So it goes 2 games, 4 games, 5 games in 1 week, and no production. Then there will be questions asked. That's just how it works. So not yet, but a little
I agree.
Something to watch for.
No, I agree. It's something to watch for. Keep watching. I want to keep an eye on his body language. I want him to be pasta. That's what I do. I don't want him to be David Pastrnak. I want him to be pasta. Yeah. That's when he's at his finest, when he is cooked perfectly. You know what I mean? When he's pasta.
Yeah, no question. So after 2 games, we just talked how perspectives change. Do the Bruins have to trade DeBrusk for a defenseman now?
You know what they need to trade him for? They do. They need to trade him for. They do. They still need to trade him in my book. They do. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I actually want. I want a second line center still, because I'm not convinced. As much as happy as I am with Erik Haula right now for this short term, that's all I'm not ready to anoint him as a 2C. I'm not.
Yeah.
And you know what? Get another guy that can play along. Maybe it's hard to go out and get an actual a hard 2 center. It is. They're not cheap. They're not easy. But get another really kind of good center. And then you know what? I'm fine. Honestly, Bud, I'm fine if maybe putting Haula with Charlie Coyle. They've got good chemistry. They do. And the Steen kid, Oscar Steen, deserves more of a chance too. He does. He deserves more of a chance to keep getting. He's going to have to be harder on pucks. That's fine. He'll learn that. But my point is, keep trying some things and see what comes of it.
If they keep Hall at number 2 center, how many games does he have to play to convince you, or is it impossible to convince you?
I would say,
let's say he gets Pasta and Hall going. And that's not point per game. That's just those guys get going. They get on a win streak.
Listen,
if he gets them going, a second line center, right?
If he gets them going, and it becomes, it all of a sudden it becomes, all right, the Bruins have got a very good second line. So now they've got, they got a legit top 6. Okay, fine. I mean, I guess, you always have Charlie Coyle as your 3C, but I guess you could move him up in and out if you have to, but we know he's better as a third line center when it's all said and done. My concern would be down the stretch, Razor, as we go from regular season to playoffs, assuming that's what you've got in the middle. I would just like another. I'm being selfish here. Give me another center, another good center, and let's still use Haula, to play, here and there, and not. I don't want to push him aside if he's doing well. But I do think he's got good chemistry with Charlie Coyle. I think that could create a masterful third line. Right now you're talking Coyle, Foligno, and DeBrusk.
Haula.
Well, maybe it becomes Haula and Coyle, and whether it's Foligno or it's a Steen, I don't know. But I'm saying, but there could be a really good third line there. But if you could get so and so, who's a really better center, if you're keeping it Hall and Pastrnak, I mean, let's live in a fantasy world. I like it. And they still need another defenseman. They do.
Yeah.
They do. A couple of things that I want to mention on here as we get close to wrapping this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor up. I feel like Carlo has played better the last couple. Good stick. Very physical. For him, he's not the most physical player, but more physical. Blocks. He's been really good at blocks. And clears. He's been really good at. I thought Derek Forbort and Brandon Carlo in the Buffalo game, when it was a 5-on-3, they were killing. Both had made one very subtle play, each to help kill off the 5-on-3. Unfortunately, the Bruins still gave up a 5-on-4 goal, but I thought they were very good in that regard. So I've been very happy. It's been nice to see Carlo do that. I think he's a more important player to this team than some people might realize. The other player, Mike Riley. Mike Riley had a much more noticeable, much more impactful, instinctual play weekend. than he's had previously. I hope he can keep it up because I thought he really got away from it. I know we touched on it before too, but I just wanted to touch on it here. I thought Riley, especially against Buffalo, was fluid, man. I thought in a good way. When I say it was a fluid situation with him, he was going and he was pinching and he was moving and he was getting pucks through. There was no hesitation. Thought it was similar against Detroit. It's pretty good there too. So I've been happy with that.
Carlos and Riley's a great add. I mean, we saw what the Bruins were like on the back end when he played great those 7 games after and right away getting traded.
Yep.
I mean, it was a different group. It looked different on the back end because of him. But Carlo is certainly McAvoy is McAvoy at this point. It's almost easier to say McAvoy is not as important because it's so consistent. It's so automatic. 24 minutes, you know he's rolling them out. Yes, if you need someone hurt, but on a night-to-night basis, wondering what the Bruins D is going to be like, more you're looking at Carlo and his importance on what he's going to be. And if he is going to be what he is the last 6, 7, 8 games, when we talked about, I don't even remember what game we did, but we said Carlo played the best game the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has translated into victories and translated into better play on the back end. So yeah, I think Carlo is the most important player on the team right now to be consistent on a nightly basis. Everyone else has found their spot. Carlo has that next level that they need.
Yeah, he needs. You know what? They've kept his minutes on. Against Detroit, he played over 20 minutes, but otherwise he's playing 17, 18 minutes. You know, I've liked the pairs. I've liked Forbort with Clifton. I just think that. Okay, that's right. And Forbort then shuffles up to play those heavier PK minutes. It doesn't tire him out by playing more with Charlie or playing more with Carlo. I
agree 100%. And I think he settles Clifton down. Clifton can then make a mistake because Forbort's back there.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that suits him much better than being with McAvoy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not the one.
I agree. Bruins still need to add a defenseman, though, as I said earlier. All right. Well, I think we got a lot covered.
Yeah,
good weekend. Bruins win 2, putting themselves, as Razor, you said a couple of minutes ago, firmly established in the playoff race with a good position. You know, probably looking like if they get on a decent run, that they should get in. Now we're not saying that getting in is the only important thing, but getting in is, let's start with that, so to speak. We got a long way to go. Holy smokes, 54 games,
God.
right?
It's unbelievable.
119 days, 50 or 118 days, whatever it is, 54 games. Our next Morning Brew is scheduled for Thursday night. Am I correct with that? Did I screw that up? No, I'm right.
No, Thursday the 6th, right?
It's Thursday the 6th after the Bruins play the Minnesota Wild at home. So the Bruins have Tuesday at home against New Jersey, then Thursday at home against Minnie. Then they hit the road for a couple when they go Tampa on Saturday and Washington on Monday. So we're going to have the upcoming schedule for Morning Brew. We're actually going to have 3 coming up. We're going to have Thursday the 2nd. Oh, no, today's the 2nd, idiot, dummy. We're going to have Thursday the 6th. Sorry, I'm looking at and then we're actually going to do another one on the 8th. We're going to do that right after the game when the Bruins are in Tampa. So we got 2 Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor coming up. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Should be a ton of fun. Kids go back to school. Hockey hopefully gets going big time. We should have a little bit more clarity, I hope, in the next week when we might make up some games in February. That would be nice. I know the league is still dealing with the Canadian situation. I am told, Razor, that there's a good chance that Canadian teams after January 16th, they're just going to have to play games up there, even if fans can't be in the stands. They're just going to have to keep playing because the league doesn't have enough, wiggle room then if they don't get back to playing.
Makes complete sense. You can only juggle games and move an away Bruins game to a home Bruins game against the Canadian. You can only do that so many times with the building availability. So hopefully they can sort their situations out, and hopefully these 2-3 weeks will give them enough room to put some people back in the building.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just comes out of the players' pockets too. So
right,
that's they're just as much on board for this too.
And nobody's happy about that. All right, that'll wrap it up. Razor, have a wonderful couple of days. We'll be in touch. Everybody else, Please stay safe and healthy, and everybody continue to have fun talking and watching your Boston Bruins. That wraps it up for Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Have a great week, and hey, you know what? Coffee should be real good, the real good, after 2 wins this past week.